Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to some Mexico City Grand Prix reaction. How are we doing this fine night here in the UK and Europe and wherever you are in the world? Are you having a good one today? Hope you enjoyed that race as well. That was I've got a poll as always in the chat. You can vote on that one. Great, good, average, okay, or bad. I think that was a good race. I'd probably between okay and good. It's in between there. There were bits that were brilliant and there were bits that were a little bit, as Martin Brundle put it in commentary, a bit like Singapore, a lot of pace management early on, and things did pick up a bit, but it's not going to go down as one of the greatest races I've ever seen, but it wasn't a bad race by any stretch of the imagination. I enjoyed it, and you know that's because I love strategy and stuff like that anyway, so and that's how it felt at times today, all about strategy, but a good race, a record-breaking race as well for Max Verstappen. Again, we'll get into that one in just a moment. Hey to everybody in chat, hope you're having a good one and enjoyed that race. Let me know your ratings in the chat. I won't read them out tonight, because for the same reasons as last week, this will need to be a little bit shorter than usual because my other half has to be up in the morning. I don't want to be getting in trouble. So there you go. Work and all that. Real work, unlike Sean. Yeah, proper work. So let me know your ratings out of 10. Be interested what you all have to say. Lots to get through. I think I've got notes for pretty much every single driver tonight, which is a nice change as well. So good stuff. Should we just run through the field? Get that done, then do the good old waffle later. Let's do that then. So Max Verstappen, taking a breath before we get into this one. 16 wins in a season. And I don't think... maybe we will. Maybe Abu Dhabi. But that could be the most comfortable win he's going to have between now and the end of the season. Because Brazil could be chaotic. We don't know what's going to happen in Vegas. And Abu Dhabi he could do there. But I think that was pretty dominant. And I don't think that's a massively controversial statement. Fantastic start off the line between both Ferraris, just right between the middle of them, very, very nicely, leading by technically turn one, but Leclerc went across the grass and kept the lead, but had to give it back to Verstappen, so he sort of took it with turn one, really, didn't he? So great start from him. Tyres are giving up on lap 19. Trying to find the big dramatic notes for him. Tyres are going off on lap 19, so he pitted on lap 19, which was a bit of a surprise. Didn't expect him in that early. Put the hards on, rejoined P7. He was told by his engineer that he thought it'd be a one-stop for everybody. So question mark Verstappen 2 stopping. Yes. And then he had an easy DRS pass on Russell into turn 1 on lap 22 for P6. An easy DRS pass on Piastri into turn 1 on lap 23 for P5. Easy DRS pass on Ricciardo into turn 1 lap 25 for P3. Easy DRS pass on, I assume I'm supposed to say Sites, my notes say Sazin, into turn 1 on lap 29 for P2, and then pitted under the safety car on lap 33 for some new hards, rejoined in the lead. Red flag came out, but he kept the lead, so was all good, and then led off the line at the start, and that was pretty much it for Max Verstappen. Yeah, I've got nothing else to say other than to reiterate what I've been saying all season, and that's that it's just been absolutely mind-boggling from him this year. He's just on another level to everybody else in that car. Brilliant car, brilliant driver, working together in perfect harmony. 16 wins. What is it? 10 poles, it says on the graphic. 17 podiums from, is it 19 races? We don't count Imola, do we? So that doesn't sound right. Is that right? 17 podiums from 19? I thought it was 17 from 18. I'll have a look in a minute, but still, whatever. It's still an incredible tally. And I was thinking this morning when sort of going over Verstappen's season in my head and what if he gets win 16 today? And it suddenly dawned on me. I may have said it before, but it came to me again that once upon a time, when I was growing up, 16 races was a season. So he's won a childhood season for me, which is terrible. Absolutely terrible. So congratulations to Max Verstappen. World Championship in the bag for a while now, we know. That was all done a few weeks ago. 16 wins in a season. I don't know what other records he can get this year. I don't know if he can get, I think he's probably got the biggest gap now back to P2 that we've seen. He's not far off 500 points. Just total domination. CPB says, there are 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and Max dominating unless he's in Singapore. Yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough. But great stuff from Verstappen today. I'm not going to sit and just keep saying great, wonderful, fantastic, super, brilliant, and all of that, because we've said it all season, haven't we? And it's not a dig at Max. It's not a knock at him at all, but there's no point just repeating the same thing about him all over. Josiah says 16 of his 17 podiums have been wins. That's insane. Fon says he has 18 podiums, I'm pretty sure. So that graphic is slightly wrong, though. So apologies there. 18 out of 19. I thought that looked wrong, so thank you very much. So, yeah, if you're watching this later, I'm not going to change the graphics. My PC's playing up as it is today. So we'll just say it's 18. So Put a number there you like, 1 if you want, I don't mind. As for his teammate, Sergio Perez today, we'll go team by team as we do, but Sergio Perez, oh dear. So, how do we... I mean, the notes are quite extensive, really, considering. DNF at the end of lap 1. So he's coming down to turn 1, home Grand Prix, outside of Leclerc. Verstappen's on the inside, Leclerc in the middle. Perez on the outside. Perez comes across to take the corner, as you'd expect, going for what would have been the lead, I think, is what he was going for at that point. He was certainly in the fight for that. Leclerc had absolutely nowhere to go. It's that old one that Sean said before. What can Leclerc do in that situation? Just evaporate? No. So there's contact there, puts him up in the air, came crashing down, pitted and retired with huge side pod damage, among other things, including apparently the floor was very extensively damaged as well. The stewards decided, and I think I agree, a first lap, first corner incident, but I think should have given more space to Leclerc, because like I say, Leclerc can't do anything, but you've got the start of the race, 3 into 1. It's one of those first corner things. I'm sure somebody will want to put the blame at somebody's door, but I think we've seen enough of them over the years to put that down as a racing incident at the start. If that, that happens, as I said before, 3, 4, 5 laps into the race, it's a different story. Somebody's going to get a penalty for that. Maybe Perez, maybe Leclerc, whatever the stewards are feeling that day. However they come to that decision, we know what they're like, but I think that's a racing incident. But just so frustrating. And I got the quotes, because these quotes, and hear me out on this, I loved them, but they also concern me a little bit. So he said to Sky, I had a tremendous start, the gap was there, would have been disappointed with a podium if I knew the win was there. With hindsight, I should have backed out and then gone home. Okay. Then he said to Albert Fabrega, I took a risk to exit that corner first and go for the victory. I didn't expect Charles to break so late. It hurts me a lot for the people. I gave it my all. I wanted to give them the victory. So the first point, what I love about that is that he's still pushing for that win. And that sounds so stupid because we're watching racing drivers, but he, despite everything this year, he's still looking at that and going, I want to win this. I am going for the lead. And that's brilliant. I love it when drivers are like that. We want to see them. We don't want to be seeing drivers pulling over and, after you, sir, and all of this business. We want him to go for the win. We're in that situation. It's home Grand Prix as well. What a moment that would have been if he pulled it off. It didn't obviously happen. But what concerns me a little bit is he doesn't need the win. I know he wants it, but he's under a massive amount of pressure. I know Christian Horner, I said it in the preview, keeps coming out and dismissing it, and people keep writing their stories because they need their clicks and all of that business. But he is under massive pressure, whichever way you look at it. And they even brought it up in commentary under the red flag. Is he under threat for next year? Martin Brundle says he doesn't think he will be. I still think they'll stick with Checo for next year. How far into next year will depend on how well he starts, of course. But he's under massive pressure. What he needed to do today was keep it clean. You can't really back out. Jensen Button's right because of drag, because you're going to cause an accident, but leave a bit more space. And if you end up 3rd or 4th coming out of that first corner, it doesn't matter. You're still in the race. And then you race. The pace was in the car clearly. 2nd, 3rd place today. And that's a podium, good drive, clean race, lifts a bit of pressure, goes to Brazil. He's feeling better, has a good race, potentially on the podium, lifts a bit of pressure, does the same in Vegas, lifts a bit of pressure. That's what he needs to be doing. That's what concerns me about that. That to me says, yes, he wants to win in front of his home crowd, but I think that's a man clearly who's feeling that pressure, and rightly so. And maybe he's just trying to push it a little bit too hard. And like I say, I don't like dismissing that from a driver because they're racing drivers. We want to see them racing, but sometimes you do, when you're under that pressure, just have to pick your battles. But as they said as well in the Sky coverage afterwards, these are split-second decisions by these drivers. It's easy for me to sit here 2 hours after the fact and have this conversation with you guys, but they're split-second decisions, but you just think he's in that split second, he's thinking, I'm going for the win here, but does he need to just take a step back a little bit and just think about the bigger picture? But again, then we'd all be criticising him for not going for it, if you follow what I'm saying. So that's why I feel like really pleased that he's still got the passion and still wants to get out there and win races. That's great to hear. But I just worry that maybe he's pushing it a bit too much, and he needs a confidence boost. He needs something to lift a little bit of pressure. As I've already said, I do still think he'll be in that car at the start of next season. Maybe if he struggles, he'll get dropped to AlphaTauri mid-season or something like that, and Tsunoda or Ricciardo will get bumped up. We'll see. But I think it feels, it's not a bit late. It's still 3 races for him to try and sort of turn up some performance. But it felt after qualifying, even though it was only 5th, it felt he was a little bit more comfortable, and he seemed really relaxed and calm. And I sort of thought to myself when I was watching pre-race, he looked really well. He looked really calm and confident before the race. And I thought, that's Checo. That's what we want to see. And then, bosh, as the kids would say 15 years ago. But that's just my view. Let me know what you think. We'll do the waffle and everything later. We'll get loads of your questions as well. But it's just frustrating. And I think this is the first time I'm concerned for him and his seat. I've been saying to you all season, even with his struggles, I still think they'll stick with him. But there's just a little bit now starting to play in the back of my mind, thinking, especially given what somebody else did today and this weekend, which we'll get to in a bit. It could be track specific. We'll talk about that in a bit. But that he just needed a clean race today. He needed a result, and I'm just starting to wonder how much pressure is going to get put on Christian Horner to make a change from those at the top. So really difficult. I'm a big defender of Perez. You know I am. A lot of you have told me I defend him way too much. Just to clarify the point, when I say that we know how good he is, what I'm saying is we've seen how good he is throughout his Formula One career. So we know that the speed is there. We know what he's done in the past. It's whether or not he can find that form again. I don't think he will necessarily before the end of the season. I think he needs to... Do you know what he needs? I'll tell you what he needs, actually. Sorry to bring him up and start probably another argument in chat and start ranting and raving like I did this time last week. But he needs a Valtteri Bottas 2018-19 winter. He needs to go away, clear his head, come back in Bahrain, refreshed, relaxed, ready to go, and then get in that car in Bahrain. And how great would it be for Perez to cross the line and give it the old, his version of To Whom It May Concern in Bahrain next season. That's what he needs, is that kind of winter. Whether or not he's going to get it, we shall see. We'll come to that later. I might do a poll on that later, actually, when we're doing Q&A and see what you guys think about his future. But I think he'll get the start of next season, probably the first half, and then see where he's at. And if he's great, if he nails it, then he'll still be in the car to the end of next season. But a lot's going to happen between now and then. We've got 3 races still to go this season, believe it or not. Lewis Hamilton, second place today, at least as I sit here and record this. I assume he's still going to be there. There shouldn't be a plank wear issue this weekend. Really strong drive from Lewis Hamilton. He was really happy over the line. Looked really relaxed as well, and really happy talking to the Sky team in the pen post-race. Biggest note early on, really, lap 9, the car is running hot. He did some good overtaking to get past. Who did he overtake? He overtook somebody. It's gone out of my head now. It'll come. Ricardo. Really nice little fight there with Ricardo. Ricardo defended well, but Hamilton got through in the end, which was kind of felt a little bit inevitable, didn't it? But I think I expected him past a lot sooner than that, but Ricardo did well. Wasn't sure the tyres would go to lap 33, having pitted on lap 24 for the hards. Was generally happy with the balance of the car, though. Put the mediums on after the red flag. I thought he was in trouble with that one. A few, actually, to be fair. Overtook Leclerc for P2 on lap 40 with I've put here bold move. I think that took some bollocks, quite frankly. Kicking up the dust as Leclerc came over and left him just about a car's width and not an awful lot more. Kicking up dust into turn 1, made the move. The Leclerc defence was hard but fair. There's nothing in that for me at all. That's hard but fair racing. Hamilton got through, really good move, just went later on the brakes and never really looked back. I was expecting those tyres to fall away, but on the final lap, clearly some performance still in there, maybe managing the temperatures and managing the tyres as well. Sets the fastest lap as he goes across the line. So clearly performance was still in those tyres. So great stuff from Lewis Hamilton today. And it's hard to say. I keep looking at people talking, and they say it on Sky a lot, obviously, because it's Lewis Hamilton, and we know how Sky love a British driver, which is fair enough. They're a British broadcaster. But they're talking about Mercedes and McLaren and Ferrari are clearly more competitive now, coming back at Red Bull next season. I would love to see that. I want to see a 4-way fight for the championship, but just sort of take a step back and just remember what Christian Horner said. This car has not been touched since the summer break, really, with performance upgrades. So whilst the field's closing up now, I'm still going to wait and see what happens in testing in that first race before I get too excited. But I'd love to see them back up there. But nothing against Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. Great drive today from him. Really good everything from Mercedes, really. Yes, please. Yeah, Handyman says, hit that like button. Please do hit that like button. Sorry. I don't know why that caught my eye there. I was looking at the corner. Max says the RB20 is not going to favour Perez more next year. Fair point, Max. But, you know, I don't know if they are building the car one way or the other for next season. But if I'm building a car to one driver, it's going to be Verstappen because I know he'll deliver. Yeah, but I don't know why. Sorry. I went to chat there and started reading random comments in my head and it just threw me off. Let's get back on it. So great drive from Lewis Hamilton. George Russell was P6 today. pitted for hards on lap 26, was still behind Piastri after that stop, but was close. That was quite really a battle for a big chunk of that first, let's call it the first half of the race, which it was really, wasn't it? Up until the red flag. Not happy with the timing of the stop because it put him behind Albon and co, but he soon got past. He wanted to take a risk. Was told at risk from Norris, but he wanted to try and overcut Albon, but it didn't matter because he overtook Albon for P8 on lap 29. He also put the mediums on after the red flag. Not happy with some of Sainz's defending. I feel, watching that, and I watched a couple of replays back as well afterwards before I came on, just specifically for this reason, I think Sainz was on the line with the moves, and if you're on the line, you're within the regulations, so that's fine for me, but any more and he'd have been in trouble. It was close on a couple of them, but I think really, I think Russell seemed disappointed, but I think he's got to be happy with the pace in the car overall, looking at where his teammate is, and hopefully that's going to give him a boost next season. But really enjoy some of the scrapping between Russell and Piastri and others as well. There was we had Verstappen out front, didn't we? Then we had kind of Hamilton in second place, particularly that second half of the race, and then the Ferraris, and then you sort of McLaren and Mercedes, and that Alfa Tauri was in there, and then behind that you've got everybody else stuck behind Nico Hulkenberg. I really, really enjoyed that one. Before we move on, though, just quickly to some super chats. Thank you to Sab Mariners fan, who's not from Grimsby. That's your new full name. Thank you very much, mate. He says, what a race by Checo in front of his home fans. He definitely just secured himself a promotion to the unemployment line. Ooh. Brutal. Thank you very much for your super chat, mate. Thank you to Handyman. He says, can we appreciate how Sean doesn't spoil the race with a thumbnail giving it away? Cheers, bud. No worries, mate. I used to. Thank you for your super chat as well. I used to do that, but a few people were like, hang on a minute, I haven't watched the highlights on Channel 4, and I was like, yeah, that's a fair point. I'll just go with the race start rather than putting who's on the podium on there. Thank you very much again for your super chat. You can get yours in as well with the $sign, I think it is. It used to be, I don't know if it still is, if you want to. If not, I'll come to you all in chat in a bit anyway, so no worries. I'll do the top three first. But yeah, I think overall, really good weekend for Mercedes. Actually quite surprised. I'll come to that. I wanted to say that. After qualifying yesterday, the pace sort of fell off. I know the session changed with temperatures and things, and that made a difference. But I thought Mercedes were in trouble after yesterday. And by in trouble, I mean maybe fourth fastest team. Maybe if Norris coming through, he was quick. Piastri, the Ferraris, but actually race pace much better today. Temperatures probably, I don't know if it was a cooler today. It seemed to be. So that's helped them a bit, but it gave us something to get excited about because Verstappen was gone. Absolutely gone. Yeah, that's it for Mercedes. Ferrari, quite a few notes, but it's mostly race notes. Leclerc, P3 in the end. Got himself a podium. Poor start. Almost bogged down, actually. As I've already said, inside was Verstappen. Outside was Perez. Nowhere to go. Contact with Perez. Front wing damage, but the flapping end plate bit came off, so it didn't need to change, hence no black and orange flag. He is being investigated afterwards for driving a car in an unsafe condition, but I think Martin Brundle's bang on in that there's nothing they can do now because that needed to be dealt with in the race. They can't, oh, okay, we'll change the front wing now, don't worry about it. I don't think there's anything they can do. Maybe a reprimand for the team or a fine perhaps, but I don't think there'll be any kind of sporting penalty there. The end plate did fall off, which cost him 5 to 10 points of downforce, according to his engineer, but his pace was still pretty solid. Maybe that cost him... No, they changed up the red flag, didn't they? So that wouldn't have happened. So yeah, so his pace was still good on that, so it didn't really destroy his race. But like I say, noted for driving an unsafe condition. This bugs me. To be investigated after the race on lap 19, I know they need to talk to the team and find out why they did it, but it's lap 19 of a 71-lap race. And you've got this question mark potentially hanging over drivers about whether where they finish is actually going to be where they get classified. And you're like, is there no way that somebody from race control could pop on the radio and talk to somebody else at the team, a spokesperson or something, and try and get some kind of answer or whatever during the race? I know it's probably way more complicated than I'm making it sound, but, lap 19 and then having to wait till the end of the race and several hours after seems a bit ridiculous. Not so much for this one, but for other incidents, it's very strange. Lap 21, tyre life as expected according to his engineer. Actually, really good strategy today from Ferrari. They all seem to be on the same page for a change. Last, if you can go further, he said, yeah, everything feels good. Pitted lap 31 for Haas and rejoining P2 ahead of Hamilton, about 17 seconds behind Verstappen. Lap 44, interesting enough, engineer says, in about 5 laps, we think the hards will be faster than the mediums. Spoiler alert, didn't happen. In fact, on the final lap, Leclerc was 1.6 seconds slower than Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton was going for fastest lap, of course, and Leclerc was probably managing towards the end there, but yeah, it never came to them. So I think there'll be some disappointment that it's Pole again and no win, but it's third place as things stand, a bit like Hamilton. Let's wait and see what happens. So I think they'll be happy with that overall. It's some good points on the board. And I think even though we'll get to him shortly, Norris had a really great race today to come back through, and Piastri picked up points. I think that third and fourth, it doesn't mathematically put an end to my McLaren have got a shot at getting Ferrari here, but I think realistically it does. McLaren are going to need to win some races, I think, in these final three to make that happen. So I think that's Ferrari pretty much safe now in third place. Could maybe get Mercedes, but Mercedes just seem to have the edge at the moment on a race day where the points are, of course, scored. So probably not. But I think Leclerc will be pretty happy with that one. Carlos Sainz, not bad off the line, but Verstappen just breezed past. And that's kind of the story there, isn't it? Absolutely breezed past. Told to do a bit of lift and coasting early on. Engineer thought the one stop was best for us. He agreed. Told to extend to the optimal lap, whatever that was, which was lap 31. There you go, Sean, it's in your notes. For the one stop, again, Sainz agreed. Came out in P4 behind Hamilton, but on fresher tyres, but didn't actually do anything much there. His pace, in fact, there's a couple of tenths in it between Leclerc and Sainz on those final laps, so I think maybe just some managing going on there for Sainz. His biggest threat really was Norris, but he was 6 seconds back in the end. In fact, Norris was nearly 2 seconds quicker on the final lap, so a few more laps and maybe that would have been a battle, but Carlos Sainz, pretty comfortable race today behind Leclerc, and good points on the board for Ferrari. Anything on the top 3 teams, peeps? I went with peeps, why not? In chat. If not, we'll do it in Q&A and Waffle later. As I always say, this is a reaction, not a review. I like to go for every team and driver if I can, and I've got notes for everybody today. But if there's anything that I've missed that's massively important about the top 3 teams, then do let me know in chat and I'll give you a quick readout now. But if it's just questions for later, then save them for a little bit later in the stream. That's that. No, I said yeah. At the end, they're expected to say a whole lot more, and nothing fell out of my mouth. So there we go. Hamilton would have been level on points with Perez without the disqualification. He'd have been 2 behind, wouldn't he? So I mean, as good as, yeah. But I think it'd be 2.38 he'd have had. So it was 18 for second place. It would. I mean, 2 in it, nothing in it at all, is there? Are we just back to the pecking order we've had for years? Read the top 5, probably. We'll do that later, Stefan. We'll talk about that a bit later if we can. Sean, I have a bone to pick with that point by Christian Horner. Are they not evolving this car next year, or have they hit the wall due to 2023 development penalty? I think the argument from Horner, and I think the right argument, is because they've got the penalty, or had the penalty that's now expired, I believe. Yes, it will have done. Yeah, 29th now, isn't it? So because they had that penalty, because they had the championships wrapped up, there's no point putting all the no point bringing all the updates to this car. You may as well get all those updates together, put them on next year's car. It will be an evolution of this year's car, because, I mean, what have you got to do to it, really? A bit more performance to keep everybody else behind, but let's face it, the car's a monster, isn't it? No one's stopping it this season, and I doubt they'll stop it next season if they get the upgrades right over the winter. So I think it's more about just not wasting your money in your cost cap on this year's car when you can use it all next year. So that just makes sense to me. And your development time as well, of course. Yeah. Yes, I added the, so it would have been 19 then. So it'd be 1 point behind. I don't know. I'll do the maths in a bit. Perez gained 2 points from 5th to 4th. And Max says since summer. Yeah, since the summer they've not been doing any upgrading on the car. So we'll roll on. Please do leave a like I say. 81 likes, 431 of you here. Please do leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe as well. We're kicking off again next week with Brazil. It's all happening. So much going on. 406 votes as well. So we should definitely have some more likes on the stream. So please do. It doesn't, if you can't help financially support the channel in any way, that's absolutely fine. But a like actually does help, because it translates into algorithm, which creates magical, mystical stuff behind the scenes, which sometimes translates into some extra views, which occasionally gives me a bit more money. So there you go. That's the technical terms. McLaren, Lando Norris. I have no idea what I'm on about. Lando Norris in 5th place. Shocking, I know. 5th place for Lando Norris. 1:21.9 on the final lap. Like I say, 6 tenths slower than Hamilton, but a couple of seconds quicker than Sainz. I mean, what can we say about his race today? Pretty spectacular, really, from P17 on the grid. Pitted very early, because he did start on the softs with the hard tyres, which seemed to put him out of sync a little bit. I think concerned me. I thought he might have made a mistake there, but the pace was there. Pitted on the safety car, rejoined P10, but red flag came out. That cost him a little bit, so unlucky with timing. Where was it at that point? it would be about P10ish, wouldn't he? Yeah, P10 red flag. So it might be a little bit higher up, but probably not. Put the mediums on. Excuse me, as a number of others did after the red flag. Poor second phase of the restart, though, and lost 4 places down to P14. The onboard appeared to show quite a bit of wheel spin on the upshift, unless I'm thinking of somebody else. No, that was Norris. That was definitely Norris. Great drive through the field, just overtaking anyone and everyone he possibly could. Nice move on Alex Albon outside of turn 4 on lap 49. Was let through by his teammate and then chased after Ricciardo for P6. And I think I'm going to put it down as overtake of the day. Absolutely brilliant move on Daniel Ricciardo around the outside of turn 4 and then the inside of turn 5 for P6 on lap 60. Absolutely brilliant driving from both of them. There could have been a bit of rubbing there. But it was really good driving. That's the advantage of racing against someone like Ricciardo in that situation. I don't mean this disrespectfully to a Joe or a Sargent or something like that, but when you've got the experience of Ricciardo there, you know you can stick the car in there. And although there might be a bit of rubbing, a bit of banging wheels, it's unlikely it's going to be a massive accident. He's predictable in that situation, although Tsunoda might not agree with you last year in that same situation into turn 5. Into turn 6, it was actually. Yeah, but that's a great move from Lando Norris. I think move of the day for me. And just a superb drive, an absolutely superb drive from 17th on the grid. And like I say, he seemed really out of sync. I think the red flag probably helped him a bit today. In fact, it probably helped him quite a bit. A few drivers got helped out by that, but I think his pace was there today to be scoring points. You could maybe argue red flag got him 5th. Maybe you've been 6th or 7th without it, but I don't think it's made a huge difference. It's definitely helped to a point. But it was quite unlucky timing with the red flag, I suppose. So maybe not swings and roundabouts. I don't know. But I just impressed with him today. Impressed with him all season. Impressed with McLaren since they brought that update. It's night and day compared to where they were in Bahrain. Like I said last week, was talking about this team in transition potentially in 2023 and maybe not completely turning attention to next year, but focusing more on that. And here they are. What a turnaround. Fantastic stuff from them. Great stuff from Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri as well, I think, had a good drive. Said after the race in his team radio, struggled with the tyres. So that's possibly why he was off the pace towards the end. Really lovely move by him around the outside of George Russell as well. Turn 12, lap 1 for P6. Lots of numbers here. Told on lap 14, the team wanted to extend as much as possible due to the tighter pack, the traffic in the midfield. So went to lap 25 before pitting. Slow-ish stop. I mean, we're talking slowish in Formula One terms here, so 3.3 seconds. Mediums on after the red flag as well. Trading place with Tsunoda after the restart, which was a fun battle, which rapidly turned a bit dramatic. We'll get to that in just a second. Was told to pick up the pace on lap 55 because Norris was faster at that stage, and in the end let him through after a lockup. Right thing to do, because Norris went on and gained 2 more positions, so that's absolutely the right thing to do from Oscar Piastri. But the incident, which we do need to talk about, and I'll do this now for Tsunoda, so when we get to Tsunoda later, there won't be much to say, but what happened? It's in my head. Where's my brain? There it is. I found my brain. It's wonderful. So coming down the start-finish straights on lap 48, Tsunoda was on the outside of Piastri. Tsunoda then tried to make the move into turn 2 and tapped to the rear. Both were okay and continued and stayed in the same positions, but a lap later, he tried the same move around the outside of turn 1, and he moves across. Tsunoda, he's not moved across to deliberately hit Piastri, but he appears to move across to too early. He's going to take the corner. He's come across a little bit too early. I haven't seen Piastri's on board. If you have, let me know. But Tsunoda does turn to the right. It's not an aggressive turn. It's a turn to head to the corner. You'd expect it. Obviously felt like Piastri was further back than he was. That results in contact, sends Tsunoda into a spin, and that dropped him down to P16. Stewards investigated, but no further action. I believe Yuki Tsunoda's radio message was, "Mate," and that was about it. So I don't think he was very happy, but he's come across and he's made that error, and it could have been very costly for AlphaTauri today, but fortunately for them, Daniel Ricciardo did a cracking job. We'll get to that in a minute. So no penalty for Piastri, and absolutely rightly so, unless you've all seen an onboard where he swings into him and gets out the car and punches him or something. I don't know, but that's Yeah, that was it, mate. So yeah, but I think a good race for Piastri. Disappointed to see him 8th in the sense that his teammate came through and was so pacey, but those medium tyres not really working for him at the end. He wasn't happy, like I say, on the radio, but happy for the team. Very happy for the team to get the points, he seemed to be, but just on those tyres towards the end. Overall, again, Norris, brilliant today. Piastri, decent. Funny story, I like to go on a tangent every now and then. Funny story. In the preview on Thursday, I was accused of being a McLaren fan. Me, a McLaren fan. Jesus. Someone's not been listening. Let's roll on. AlphaTauri. Daniel, I don't hate McLaren, by the way. Just make that clear. I know it's the internet. Be careful. Daniel Ricciardo, arguably driver of the weekend, would we say, in chat? I think certainly surprised. I thought Albon was going to be surprised of the weekend. I think Ricciardo definitely surprised the weekend, and I think possibly driver of the weekend. Held on to P4 really nicely until Hamilton passed him on lap 11, so actually did a great job to get that far. Did a good job as well after the restart to keep within DRS of Russell initially, and then Sainz ahead of him, of course, and fell back on lap 46. P6 in the championship is the big game for AlphaTauri today. We'll get onto that in a second. But he did come back to Ricciardo towards Russell in the final laps. And I think it was on the last lap, he was within DRS, but couldn't quite get the move done. Was very close. We didn't see it on TV because they cut just as they were heading there, as you do. So I was watching the timing. I could see it. I think it got down to like 0.04 something. So he was within 400ths of taking that position. There was obviously some battling going on. I've not seen it, unfortunately. Very close, but Russell just hung on half a second, between them over the line. And that is 6 very tasty points for Daniel Ricciardo, which means he moves to within 2 of Yuki Tsunoda. And it means Nick De Vries is the only driver who didn't score in AlphaTauri this season. That is also AlphaTauri's best result of the season. And it is worth $20 million for them if they stay there, according to Karun Chandok, because they have moved up into 6th place, 11 on points with Alfa Romeo, but up into 8th place, in the Constructors' Championship. And that is massive financially. Not great for wind tunnel time, but great stuff. Was it Warden said it was 0.026 at one point between Russell and Ricciardo. So that's even less than I thought, so I wasn't watching it that intently. But big money there. Big money potentially for AlphaTauri. So congratulations to Daniel Ricciardo. And as I kind of touched on earlier, that was the time to do it. Perez made his, that contact at turn 1, made his mistake, if you want to call it that. His race is over. And then the guy who everyone's talking about replacing him does that. Now, I don't want to get into this too much today because that's a fantastic drive. And we shouldn't be drawn away from that. But the high altitude of Mexico, what it can do for your power unit, AlphaTauri, is it track specific? We'll see in Brazil. The next 3 races are going to be fascinating because if he can do similar to that, not 4th place on the grid and 7th every weekend, but, picking up 10th place, 9th place, just outside the points in 11th place, whatever. If he starts doing that, that's going to put even more pressure on Sergio Perez. So great stuff from Daniel Ricciardo. Don't forget his 2nd race back from his injury as well. So that's impressive. Just a very good weekend for Daniel Ricciardo all around. And I think Christian Horner really likes him, doesn't he? So I'm not sure about Helmut Marko. I don't know what his opinion is, but Christian Horner needs to like him. So that's certainly given his stock a boost. But we'll see what happens in a week's time. Hopefully more of the same. Even if it means nothing for that 2nd Red Bull seat, which I'm sure it does. Maybe if it means nothing, it's just nice to see Ricciardo having a good weekend after the difficult 12 months he's had, really. Certainly the last few weeks for him, a couple of months. Yuki Tsunoda, already kind of touched on him with the Piastri thing. Won't go into that one again. Nice move outside of Magnussen turn 1 in battle for 13-14, but locked up and cut the corner, so had to let Magnussen back through, or Magnussen got back through. I just caught the end of that replay. Pitted early for Hards on lap 10. I believe he was first. Possibly because of a flat spot due to that lockup. I'll check the press releases later. Red flag timing was bang on for Tsunoda. He was up in 8th place when that came out, so perfect stuff. Free stop. Trading place with Piastri after the restart, like I say, and that really nice battle between the two of them, which ended in tears ultimately. Wrecked his race, but I mean, still finished 12th, so not horrific, but yeah, he was on for big points today. There was a point where I think Ricciardo was 5th and Tsunoda was... No, they were 6th and 7th, weren't they? And I thought, ooh, this is massive. This is huge for AlphaTauri. And then he's gone and done that, and that's a shame. But it's racing. It happens. Not much more to say on Tsunoda, to be honest. On that one, I've already went over with Piastri. But great weekend for AlphaTauri. They can be very, very happy with that. I'm a little bit annoyed because now it means that Nick De Vries is the only one not to score points. So my table is just... I wanted everyone to score a point. It's not happened now, is it? De Vries can't come back, or he can. He's not going to, but he could. You never know. He's not going to, but yeah, shame. Would have been nice to have on points today, but we've got all the team scoring, so that's something. So yeah, Yuki's pace was really solid today. Nikolai said it was insane. It was really good pace today from Yuki. I mean, and Ricciardo, like I say, holding off Hamilton for so long early on was really, really good stuff. So great stuff from them. Williams, Alex Albon, P9, Logan Sargent, DNF. No idea why. Possibly something to do with gearboxes. I don't know. Maybe thinking about the next race, but he was, in fact, I'll tell you now, because if I can do Sargent quickly first, I've got his quotes here. Another strong Sunday from my side. His pace was good, to be fair. He said his pace was good. Had some solid moves. Had a poor second restart, which cost me on a place in the top 10. However, we are managing an issue throughout the race and came up one lap short from a reliability standpoint. So it was reliability. We had a fuel pump issue. That means we had to retire. We had the correct amount of fuel in the car but couldn't get the fuel into the engine. We did our best to manage it and the team helped guide me through it. Disappointed to not finish after giving everything I had after 71 laps. So lots of positives for Logan Sargent. I thought his pace was decent today. It wasn't on the... he's not on up there with Albon, but I don't think he was doing too badly today. He was sort of in and around 12th place, wasn't he? Which isn't an awful place to be. But fuel pump issues for him, so that's why he finished where he did. I have no idea what that says. I've written some notes and I have no idea what that word is. It says Sid. I don't know who Sid is. Said, if extending can help the team later in the race, then I think I can do it. So thinking ahead, which was good stuff. Pitted on lap 22 for hards. Told to increase lift and coast on lap 28 and replied, I can't right now. Put on the mediums after the red flag. Lap 44, apologised for his poor start. Was annoyed at Stroll and said too much moving on the brakes, and I agree. We'll get to that when we talk about Stroll. And then, like I say, the fuel pump issue is why I retired on the final lap. Alex Albon, though, I don't know how to feel. Truthfully. Great race, really great race to get yourself into 9th place. But after Friday and Saturday morning, I thought, hey up, this is a big one for Albon. He's going to be the surprise of the weekend. 9th place. Great result. If I show you that on Thursday, you go, oh, nice one, Alex. Couple of points. But after Friday and Saturday morning, you're thinking, oh, this could be a big day. So it's great race. Probably disappointing in the context of the whole weekend, but it's still 2 points for Williams. They're looking very good, aren't they, for 7th place now in the Constructors? They should be pretty safe there. But it's still a good race. Didn't see a huge amount of him. I had the team radio on again. I like to listen to that on the feed just so that if I don't see it on TV, I can get something for you. Lap 7, P11, that Alfa, referring to Joe, is quick in a straight line. Finally got past him with a good move into turn on lap 15 for what was P10 at the time. And he put the mediums on after the red flag. That's all I have for him in my notes. He said, great race, which surprised me. Interesting. As we didn't have that much race pace. The track was a little bit too hot for us, so required a lot of tyre management, which I expected. We had very good starts where we gained some good positions and also had good strategy, but the red flag ruined that a little bit, so the red flag cost him, so we had to reset before the restart. We made up the places lost during a safety car, and I think regardless of qualifying yesterday, P9 was the best result we could have done today, so I'm happy. So there you go, that answers my question, not how to feel. If that's the best result they think they could have achieved, then there you go. But like I say, I'm not knocking Albon. I'm not saying that's bad. Don't take that way. That's not what I'm saying. That's still a really good result. But in the context of the whole weekend, it's sort of, you expect more. So it's still great stuff from Albon today. And I mean, what can I say? I feel like I need to say something more. I've said it's loads. He's one of my surprises of the season. I wasn't, a lot of you have told me he's brilliant. I've been a little bit lukewarm about him over the years, but here he is, doing a fantastic job at Williams. He looks so settled as well, doesn't he? He's really leading that team so nicely. I know the car's good, as Pedder's saying in chat there, but he's doing a good job there, and James Vowles is doing a great job. Albon's settled. He's leading that team nicely. He's delivering the points. Can't fault him, really. And today, it's another again, for the 5th time, great result for him. Where do we get to? We've done Williams to Alpine. Very little on Alpine. Under Gasly, I have lap 42, see Bottas notes. Gasly was 10th. Gasly was 11th. Ocon was 10th. We'll start with Ocon. Put the mediums on after the red flag. Lap 53, quite amusing radio message, said, say to Haas, I'm going for it, so better be ready. Very nice. Overtake Hulkenberg on lap 66 for P10 for that final point. Spent a lot of the race, or that second phase of the race certainly, stuck in the Hulkenberg train. I can't think of anything better to call it than the Hulkenberg train, because that's what it was. It was Hulkenberg in P10, everybody behind him, doing the conga, down the start-finish straight. That Haas was rapid in the straight line, and it kept things interesting back there. So thank you, Nico Hulkenberg. Pierre Gasly, lap 42, see Bottas notes, so I will do. What did he do on lap 42? Or 52, sorry. What am I looking at here? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Bottas tried to move around the outside of Gasly on lap 52 for P12, but Gasly fought back and held on. Tried again on turn 4, but Gasly held on there as well. So that was a nice little battle between those two. But that is pretty much all I've got for Gasly, is that nice little fight with Bottas. He's gonna. I'm giving the excuse I often give. He was in that cluster of cars where you didn't see him specifically, if that makes sense. We weren't focused on him. We were focused on that battle and that gaggle of cars, and that's kind of where he was. So stuck behind Nico Hulkenberg. Good stuff from Alpine there today. It's a point there. I said it last week. They're not going to catch the team ahead. They're not under threat from Williams. It's a nice point. Hopefully they're well focused on next year and can bounce back from there. Haas, Hulkenberg P13 and Magnussen DNF. We'll get to the K-Mag in a minute. Hulkenberg was actually running as high as 8th at one point on lap 16. Pitted for Hards on lap 23, as did Magnussen. And I've put it here, double stack. I do love a double stack, so thank you, Haas, for that one. He was another one to put the mediums on after the red flag, but was complaining on lap 45 of his front brakes being very hot, and also reported on the same lap a sudden loss of rear grip. He also said on lap 53 of the radio, they kill us on the brakes, they kill us everywhere. Unbelievable. I think there was another word in there that wasn't played over the radio. Despite all of that, I've got to say, did a really decent job to fend off Ocon, Gasly and everybody behind for so long in P10, but passed by Ocon, like I said, on lap 66. So I think that's a really decent job from Hulkenberg. We know that Haas is not great on its tyres on a Sunday, so this update seems to give them some really good straight line speed. That's helped them today to stay ahead. So I've got to say, really good stuff from Hulkenberg. It's not points, which will frustrate him, I'm sure, but he's still done well to defend for that long and keep himself in the mix and keep things entertaining too. Finished just shy of 3/10 clear of Valtteri Bottas behind his teammate K-Mag. Like I say, was part of that double stack, which is always fun. And this race didn't have many notes until he went wide at the exit of the final corner, thanks to what looked like a bit of a snap as he came through there on lap 32. Went over the curb quite hard. Very bumpy off track, as you'd expect. Off track, sorry. Kicked up a lot of dust and rejoined okay, but then a lap later had a big crash, which triggered a safety car. His rear suspension, there's a picture later of the damage. His right rear suspension apparently appeared to, could be right rear, could be left, it was his rear suspension, over the curb broke. The car veered off to the left and into the wall. Martin Brundle makes me laugh. He's like, oh, in F1 terms, that's not, you don't want to be sat in there, but it's not that big of an accident. And you're like, bloody hell, that looks terrifying. Was it rear left? I thought, yeah, rear left makes more sense. But yeah, rear left broke, suspension broke, into the wall, nasty accident. Brought out the red flag needed for barrier repairs. A few drivers would have been very happy with that. Max Verstappen wasn't quite so sure that it was needed, but the barriers needed to be fixed, so fair enough. I mean, you could have done it under a safety car, I suppose, but you're going to be under a safety car for about 15 laps, so you're losing quite a chunky race. So, I mean, they used to do, didn't they? Barriers needed repairing once upon a time. It was all done under double yellows and safety cars. But there you go. So yeah, maybe, I'm wondering, they speculated in commentary. I thought it as well. I'm sure many of you did. Is that as a result of the off, that he'd had a lap before? It seems like, I'm going to go check to see if we've got the quotes from them yet. But that to me, feels like too big of a coincidence to go off like that on one lap and then the following lap to have a massive crash like that. So I'll go to the team and see what we've got in their quotes from K-Mag specifically, really, we need to see. But there's nothing... No. Oh, no, we've got some here. They've got a whole website. Look at that. Bloody hell, Haas. Steady on. Kevin Mann said, I crashed after having a rear left suspension failure. Thank you in chat. It happened in a bad place and I hit the wall, so I got a knock on my hand and they hurt a little bit, but they're fine. We have to investigate a bit more what exactly happened as it just gave up. Before that, I was going okay. I was stuck in traffic for a long time and cooked my tyres, but I don't know if whatever caused the failure had an impact for a while beforehand. Gunther Steiner just says suspension failure, needs to dig into why it happened. It seems to be heat related, according to Gunther Steiner. They need to check. Goes on to say it was a tough day, but it's not all negative. Nico was in a good position to get points, but then with the red flag, which we caused ourselves, irony, I guess, we couldn't keep the tyres in the last stint. So, so he's saying heat related. So maybe something's, that's an interesting one to keep an eye on in the coming days, actually. So there you go. That's what they've said on that one. But he was okay. You know, he's hurt his hands, but he's not going to be taking races off by the sounds of it. We'll keep an eye just in case, but seems to be okay. K-Mag and Hulkenberg, like I say, good race for him. Nice to talk about Haas, actually. Not necessarily nice for Kevin Magnussen, but nice to talk about them and not just Haas were there. What I mean by that is nice to see Hulkenberg competitive in that midfield rather than trundling around towards the back because the tyres have absolutely finished on lap 3 or whatever it was. And penultimate team, not quite last, penultimate team, Bottas, 14th for Alfa Romeo. Zhou was 15th as well for his team. Bottas, I've already talked about the move with Gasly. There's nothing to say there. There was another incident for Bottas, which I'll check the FIA for in a minute. He went for a move. Stroll went for a move at the inside of 13 into the stadium section, which is... It's a ballsy move. We don't tend to see too many in there in F1. Others, I think Formula E like a move in there, don't they? But we don't tend to in Formula One. But I would say Stroll was through there. I think he got that. Bottas then hit the inside or clipped the rear of Stroll. That put Stroll into a spin and Stroll had to retire. So I'm just going to go to the FIA website quickly now because... when I went live, there was no decision, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a decision now. So bear with me on this one. Got quite a few decisions here all of a sudden. So we know that the Piastri one was no further incident, don't we? Just double check that one. No further action, no further incident, no further action, not no further incident. Nothing there as well. Bottas has been summoned. We're still waiting for a decision, but we do have Leclerc's decision in. No further action on Leclerc for driving on unsafe condition. I'll read that in a moment, so that's that decision in. But nothing yet on Bottas. We're still on the summons for Bottas, so I'll keep an eye on that one. But I would expect a 5-second penalty, which will destroy his race because he'll go from 14th to 15th, where his teammate was. Zhou might finish 14th. We'll see. Pitted lap 21 for Hards. Reporting a burning smell on lap 30. I put some sort of issue, question marks. There was a lot of radio chatter about clipping and the engineer telling him where to shift his brake balance for extra rotation in turn 6. So I don't know if there was some kind of issue being managed there or just a lack of pace. My gut, looking at the fact his teammate is only 1 second up the road, tells me that's just a lack of pace in the Alfa Romeo this weekend. But... it's kind of difficult to tell because they were behind Hulkenberg for so long. So in that DRS train, it's about track position, isn't it? If they are... It sounds obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. Why not? If it's Hulkenberg, Bottas, Zhou, then you probably find that Bottas finishes 10th and Zhou finishes 11th today. Because it was all about getting past Hulkenberg. And the first ones to do that were always... or the ones that could do that best and then maybe fight back were always going to score today, that final point. So I don't think the pace was bad from Alfa today. They just got caught in that train and it was difficult to overtake. And I hope you see what I'm getting at there. But I think probably just the pace rather than anything. I'll keep an eye out for their press release. That tends to come in fairly quickly. But if he's under investigation, it probably won't until that's been decided. And last... and very much least, I'm afraid, today, I must say. And all weekend, actually, Aston Martin. Oh, dear. What has gone on there? Fernando Alonso was under investigation at the start of the race for speeding in the pit lane on the way to the grid. He got a fine for that because the race hadn't started, so that's fair enough. Sort of not trundling around at the back, but fell back through the field and was right back there. Told to do a lot of lift and coasting as early as lap 12, which is worrying, and retired at the end of lap 47. Suspected debris damage from earlier in the race. And Lance Stroll overtook teammate on run to turn 4 on lap 12, had more pace than Alonso, so that the team made the switch, which made perfect sense. Moving twice at turn 1 to defend against Sargent, just back to that point. Stroll definitely moved twice in that one and didn't leave a car's width on the outside, so I'm surprised that wasn't looked at, but maybe with both drivers ultimately retiring, the stewards decided not to, but that for me was 2 moves and a bit cheeky. Carlos Sainz was on the line. I think Stroll was just over the line. So with that one, tried to pass Bottas inside of turn 13. Like I say, unusual move, but he looked to have made it and was tagged and put into a spin by Bottas and retired at the end of the lap. So that kind of, what is it? What's that? That's all she wrote, I think is the saying, isn't it? So yeah, €100 fine for Fernando Alonso. That's he's not going to get to pay his rent, is he? He's just going to struggle. He's going to struggle. Poor Fernando Alonso. He's really going to struggle with that one. Thank you very much to Stefan for your super chat. Sorry it took me a few minutes to get there. I was sort of focused on flying through the order there. Always watch F1 Word after the race to hear you waffle, and glad to catch it live this time around. Thanks for doing these. No problem. Thank you for your support, Stefan, and for your super chat. Very, very kind of you. Yeah. Thank you. Guys, thank you. There you go. Lots of thank yous just for you, Stefan. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that one. So I'll keep an eye out for press releases, of course, and we'll do some Q&A in a few minutes, and we'll have a bit of a waffle as well, and I'll keep an eye on the FIA page and make sure nobody's getting there. I'll tell you what we'll do first, actually. Charles Leclerc, no further action on his... What have they put? Car 16... Fact. That's what it says. Fact. Car 16 was driven on track with visible damage prior to detachment of bodywork in turn 1. Team representative explained that after contact between 16 and 11, that's Leclerc and Perez, of course, in turn 1, lap 1, it had monitored the situation and was of the view that the structure of the wing assembly was sound. Did not expect it to detach. Had to check the situation from live TV, but was unable to find suitable video. On lap 3, it noted a serious deterioration in the data and was about to take action when the end plate detached. FIA explained that from October 2022, it was standard procedure agreed by the teams, and the FIA confirmed in January 2023 that the detachment of an end plate and the location of its final landing place was not to be deemed as unsafe. This was confirmed to the stewards. What? The FIA representatives explained that from October 2022, it was standard procedure agreed by the teams, and the FIA confirmed in January 2023 that the detachment of an end plate and the location of its final landing place was not to be deemed as unsafe. This was confirmed to the stewards' satisfaction by the citing of an email dated October 22, 2020, and minutes of the SAC meeting of January 2023. All right. So it was agreed between the teams and the FIA that the detachment of an end plate and the location of its final landing place was not deemed as unsafe, yet the stewards still felt they needed to. Okay, whatever. I understand what it's saying, but it's a bit. I know the FIA and the stewards are technically, they're all part of the FIA, but they're separate entities, aren't they? So the FIA may have agreed with teams, but that doesn't mean that the stewards did. So that's why the FIA can overrule a steward's decision later down the line. But it seems odd they've investigated it if they already came to an agreement with the teams that was fine. It's paperwork, I suppose. Maybe they get paid per paper thing. I don't know. Per thing they put out. Or if someone's out, I'll get a $5. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Driver of the day. It was Lando Norris officially. Yes, James Rich. Just nod and smile. Just nod and smile. Okay, cool. All right, lads. Get on with it. Yes, driver of the day. Lando Norris was the official driver of the day. Let me know yours in the chat. One surname. I'll read some out. I've got to go with Alonso. No, I haven't. Look. Norris is the obvious pick because of his brilliant drive today. I think Lewis Hamilton was excellent. I think Max Verstappen was just unstoppable and superb today. Absolutely dominant. So it's hard not to give it to Verstappen because, that brilliant start, led perfectly, managed his tyres, managed his car. Brilliant second start, so he fought that one off as well. So it's really hard not to say Verstappen. It's difficult not to say Hamilton as well because he had a great race today. It's very hard not to say Ricciardo. I think he was superb. But I do agree, 17th on the grid to 5th in the race. It's hard not to give driver of the day for that. Then again, we didn't all give it to Stroll last week, did we, for his pit lane to P I think it was, or P8 as it turned out, or whatever it was. So I don't know, but I think it's hard not to say Norris, but I'll say Norris or Ricciardo, and then whatever you've gone with in the chat, I'll go the other way just to keep it interesting. How's that? That sounds completely ridiculous. Like my predictions, it doesn't matter if it upsets you that I've picked somebody else and to your favourite or somebody that you think it was, that's fine, but it's just a bit of fun. Like the predictions on a Thursday, don't read into them. My prediction score, by the way, is absolutely shocking. It is shite for 20, not even 50% of the points. It's terrible. Del says Perez. Shadik says Perez. Hank says Max. AJ says Ricardo. Kev says Ricardo. Dex says Ricardo. Looks like I'm going for Norris. Extreme Gaming says Ricardo. Craig says Danny Rick. Bert says Danny Rick. Is it Lars Chat says Lars Chat? I can't say Lars Chat. Says Ricardo. James Rich says Mylander. John says Norris deserved it. Danny Maximizer tough car. Good point from Franco Berry. That's a fair point. Warden says Perez Stroll. Joking, of course. Norris, but Ricardo Hamilton could take it. Andre says Norris. Marty says Logan Sargent. Of course. Williams Rear Jack says Benjamin. Max or Danny Rick for Janice. Corp says Danny Rick. Dex says Ham was a treat too. Absolutely. Greg says Norris, but Ricardo. Daniel says Yuki makes Ricardo look fast. Piastri finishing behind tips it for me to Norris. James says Norricciardo. Oh, I like that. Oh, that's a nice. Do you know how it even works the name? Norricciardo. Yeah, I'm up that. I'm going to go change my name tomorrow now. Has to be Norris, Ricardo, and Verstappen. Hamilton gets the honourable mention, says Scott. Scott's sitting on a bigger fence than me. There you go. Ricciardo says AU Racer. Yeah, I know, Del. I know, mate. We've said it loads on this channel. We're not getting into it today, but I agree. Josh says Norris. Pascal says Norris and Ricardo. I think a good balance there, but I'd say chat were heavily weighted towards Ricardo there. So I'll say Norris, but as a few of you have said, and I'll take Scott's stance as well, Verstappen, brilliant. Hamilton, brilliant. Norris, brilliant. Ricardo, brilliant. So it's quite a hard pick this week. But yeah, I'll go with that route. Why not? Why not? Who cares? It doesn't. I'm sorry. I'm focused on something else. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Cornelius says Danny Rick. Letox says Norris, of course. And anybody else? No, we'll leave it there for drive day. You can let me know yours as well in the comments later on if you're watching this as a VOD. Is the cool way of saying when this is rendered later, or at a more sociable hour. We've got half an hour, so if you've got any questions, please do pop them in the chat. Thank you, Zach, for the obligatory Van Dorn. Appreciate that one. Any questions in chat? Anything I've missed that you want me to talk about again? Which would make no sense because if I've missed it, I'm not talking about it again, but you know what I mean. Then I'm happy to do that as well. And I'll keep an eye out for the FIA decision on Bottas, which I mean, who cares? I'm not being awful. Who cares? It'll be 14th or 15th for Bottas today. It's not going to be points, is it? But I'll still keep an eye out and for press releases for any more information as well. So we'll go there. Scott wants to know what the tyre talk segue will be for Brazil. Not telling you. Also, I know not everyone hangs around for the waffle and the Q&A at the end, so if you are going, then thank you very much for joining me for the last just over an hour. Great to have your company tonight. Have a great week, and I will see you Thursday for the preview and then the race reaction next Sunday. Please do drop a like before you go. We're nearly at 200, which is getting towards 50% of the stream. It would be amazing. It's never happened before for a stream to get likes from everybody who's watching, but that would be quite cool if we could get to like 430. I don't think it will happen, but I'm setting you a challenge. If you do it, you're legends. If you don't, then you're still legends, so it doesn't matter, does it? But please do drop a like and don't forget to subscribe. What we got? Let's have. So yeah, I'm not going to tell you the Brazil segue for two reasons. Number one, don't want to spoil it, and number two, I haven't done it yet. It won't be an accident though, like this week's was. I was quite happy with that one. Who has the best chance of finishing second? Chance of being second in Brazil? Says Warden, or asks Warden. So I think Warden's decided Verstappen's winning. I probably have to say Mercedes. I think Mercedes and Hamilton. I mean, they went well there last year. They were good in Austin, plank aside. They were good, very good in Mexico. So I'd probably say Mercedes. What I will say is, I think someone in chat touched on it earlier. I do think that Lewis Hamilton will get P2 in the standings now. I thought his disqualification in Austin had saved Perez, if we want to word it that way. I suppose it is technically, isn't it? But that DNF from Perez today and Hamilton P2 with the pace that they could well have in Brazil, and Brazil's a lottery, so we don't know, do we? But I think Hamilton's got... I think he's got it, bizarrely. Last week I was saying it was over, and Checo was fine, but Checo? Who's Checo? Checo was fine, but I think Hamilton's got a great shot at this now, and I'm fairly certain he's going to get it. But, you know, I could look a fool in 7 days' time. My real question was supposed to be, with how the races are divided into sections, is COTA, Mexico, Brazil the best section of the season? I mean, look, you'll get it at the start of the preview and throughout the preview, and in every stream I do next weekend, I will do nothing but talk positively about Sao Paulo, Interlagos, the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. Oh, the pronunciation, cracking. I fucking love that track. It is by far, in my opinion, the best track of the season. It's a great layout. It 99.9% of the time gives us some great racing, and it's got that risk of rain and some sprinkling of some drama occasionally. I just love that track and that whole weekend. Plus the passion of Brazil. Kind of, it might sound stupid, but it still bugs me we don't have a Brazilian on the grid. Honestly, Brazilian driver, of course. I don't know what's going on down there for the drivers. Maybe they do, but we don't have a Brazilian driver on the grid, so it kind of really bugs me because that place is so passionate for Formula One, and absolutely love it. It's dreadful pronunciation. I know it's dreadful pronunciation, but it's fine. I'm terrible for it. I saw an interesting question. I mean, you're all interesting questions, but we'll see what we've got. Maybe not. I'm sure I saw one. I like to answer every now and again. Janice says, how is Chamber, by the way? I have not seen him lot from recently. Are you doing an end of year review or your earlier predictions? I think I mentioned it last week, but I'll say it for those that wasn't. I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago now for an evening, a proper conversation with him. He's okay. I won't say any more than that, but he's okay. And it's good to hear from him. Good to have a chat as well. I miss him. I miss chatting to John T as much as I used to. I miss Stuart. I miss Dan. The old band. If you knew, you'll never know. Unless you go back and watch the other streams and just us giving Dan nothing but grief for his Grosjean fandom. But yeah, miss them all. Miss them loads. But yeah. New dawn next season. For Sean and the F1 words. We'll see what happens over the winter, and who knows? Maybe they'll be back one day. You never know. Hamilton is technically Brazilian, says Andre. He's got, is it Brazilian citizenship? Yeah. That's why he's on the thumbnail next week before anybody starts, because it's kind of weird, really. He's the only... When I put Hamilton on the thumbnail, it's the only time I ever get asked why he's on the thumbnail. I never get asked for the other drivers. But I think it's pretty obvious if he's on the thumbnail for Silverstone and Brazil, why he's there. But there you go. Feel bad for Drugovic? Yeah. I feel bad for a lot of drivers that don't get their opportunity, but that's how brutal F1 is. So many sprints in so little time, says Rachel. I feel like this weekend was an enjoyable breather. I'm always tired by the Sunday race after a sprint and not excited at all. I watch it unenthusiastically anyway. Watching sprints unenthusiastically is just me to a T. I like racing, but they just don't really do anything for me. But, you know, each to their own, I'm sure. But yeah, I think I saw on Twitter somebody say, X, formerly Twitter, as it gets known now. Somebody said it was a month. That was our first Saturday qualifying for a month. And we've had 3 races in that time, excluding this week. That's just seemed bonkers to me. Yeah. We're not going to do sprint chat today. We'll do that next Saturday if I do a waffle, which I might do because I should be able to do that. It's a little bit earlier, isn't it, on the Saturday? So I should be able to do that post-sprint and we'll have a bit of a waffle about it. But yeah, I think it needs to be spaced out better than they are. 3 in the first half, 3 in the second half is fine, but, spread them out a little bit. Unless we're being tested again. Unless we're being tested for, if we do these every weekend, how mad will people get and can we get away with it? Cha-ching. Because let's not lie. Let's not. Not going to talk about sprints. Start talking about sprints. Let's not kill ourselves. We know why we have sprints. It's not because they're universally loved. It's not because they give us amazing action. It's because it helps the bank balance. That's why it's there. I'm not stupid. There you go. Perez needs to go, says Brad. Like I say, I think he'll still be there next season for that first half, maybe, depending on how he does. But it'd be I think you're causing yourself problems if you just throw Ricciardo in there now or for the start of next season, because I think he's going to need some time to get properly up to speed again. Yeah, 4 races, 5 races, the end of the season, that's great and all, but give him a proper winter. Give him next season and then go from there. There's no need to rush him in. They've got plenty of great drivers or good drivers to pick from of Red Bull, and I'm sure they can swap people around if they need to next year. I say it will be interesting. Sorry, Checo fans, to do this, but if Perez is replaced mid-season next year, do you think he'd accept a seat at AlphaTauri? Do you think he'd be happy to do that? Or not happy? He wouldn't be happy, would he? But you know what I mean? You know how Gasly was kind of like, okay, I know it's moving your drivers around, but Gasly was content or accepting of going there, if you want to put it that way. Drivers will move around in Red Bull, just get on with it. But I wonder if Perez, because he's not actually a Red Bull driver, would maybe just say no, do one. That'd be an interesting dynamic to keep an eye on. I guess it's better than not being on the grid, though, isn't it? It's better than not racing. We do have a decision, by the way. Drum roll, please, for Valtteri Bottas. Fact, as the thing says, car 77 collided with car 18 between turns 13 and 14. These are great. You've got to read these. They will help you sleep in no time. Decision. 5-second time penalty imposed after the race. 2 penalty points for a total of 2 for the 12-month period. Bottas is a well-behaved driver. Stewards heard from everybody relevant. Stroll had made a passing manoeuvre on 77, so Bottas, into turn 13 successfully and in accordance with the driving standards guidelines. On the exit of the turn, Bottas ran wide, and as he attempted to return to the racing line, collided with Stroll, which was ahead of Bottas. The stewards determined that the car of 77 was predominantly to blame for the collision. The standard penalty, consistent with other similar incidents in 2023, is applied. So Bottas's day has been absolutely ruined. He finished 14th. 5-second penalty means he now finishes 15th. God, what a waste of a day. Yeah. Lee Nook says it's in his contract. Yeah, good point. Yeah, no, fair point. If he's contracted to, yeah, or no. Lee's bang on. No, yeah, I'm with you. You get a Red Bull contract, don't you? You don't get a AlphaTauri contract or a Red Bull Racing contract, unless you're Max Verstappen, of course. You get a Red Bull contract, so you are contracted to both teams effectively, the brand, if you want to put it that way, the racing side of things. So they can move you around all they want. But Perez can not turn up. It might cost him some money. He can say no and not turn up. Shattuck says ran wide, was pushed wide. I don't think he was pushed wide. He went wide. Whichever way, it doesn't matter, does it? Well, people argue it does matter on the Bottas Stroll thing because it sets a precedent, and I'm kind of mocking it a little bit, but Stroll had the corner. Stroll made the move. People won't agree. There'll be a lot of people that agree with that and a lot of people that don't. A lot will say Stroll's trash. Stroll's terrible. He shouldn't have done that. It's all his fault because Stroll can do no right. When he does wrong, people are quick to tell you he's done wrong, but no one will ever just go, that was a good move from Stroll. Shame Bottas took him out. Austin, thank you very much for your super chat. Says Albon in the post-race show talks about how they need to reprofile the last turn sequence to improve racing. Do you think they will, like Spain did? Thank you very much, Austin, for your super chat. Good question. I mean, it's technically already been reprofiled, hasn't it? From when it was the Peraltada. I think they said it's been cut in half. Was the specifics there from Martin Brundle. So I doubt it because I'm trying to think how you would reprofile it, I guess is the question. Because you're coming off a slow sequence of corners, quick off the final. I mean, you're pretty much, I assume they're flat through there nowadays. Back in day, they wouldn't have been, but they are flat through there now, which is what they are pretty much through the final corner in Spain. So unless there was a way to make 2 fast corners, but then you'd have to knock half a stadium down. So I think it's more about there not being the space. But then I was just going to say, Musso's just said it in chat, remove the chicane maybe. Is there? Let me get. I can't put it on stream because I don't want to do that live and crash my PC because it's playing up today, like I say. Let me just try and find me watching me jiggles. Where are we? That's Brazil, Sean. Brazil is useless to this conversation today. We will save that for next week. I can't wait to get to Brazil. That's all it is. So I suppose you could, if you move that chicane, so you'd be flat from, well, you go through that twisty sequence of corners. So flat from 10 through 11, down to 12, tight right-hander. I guess there might be a way to sort of sort that stadium section out to get rid of the chicane and make it quicker through there or something. But then again, you've got the stadium to think of. You've also got to think of runoff and things. So I don't think they will, but it's a really fair point from Albon. If there was a way they could do it, that would be great. But I don't think that's going to happen. So Raul says they are doing exactly what, removing the chicane. Is that a fact? Raul. I'm staring at Raul like he's there looking at me. Like, come on, Raul, tell me, is that true? Are they actually removing the chicane? Pedder says turn sequence basically favours a driver who should be leaving space by giving them the right to run wide, pushing a driver off track. That is what happened to Bottas. What do you think to the Mexican fans attacking Charles fans? Says Nick. So I was going to talk about this, so I might as well. So on the wider issue of booing, just sport. It doesn't. I think there's a lot of people get really upset about booing. And I get it, but it's sport and it happens all the time, and it's not. I take it as a bit of pantomime, a bit of theatre. I don't take it seriously. I don't get all upset about it. It's not classy, I suppose, is it? But it's just part of sport, and I don't think it deserves the hoo-ha that it gets. Hoo-ha is a great phrase. I've not said that for about 30 years. Why not? It doesn't deserve the hoo-ha it gets from certain sections of the media. What I would say, though, is I see it as deflection in some cases. Not every case. Sometimes it's just, I don't like you, I'm going to boo you, or you're dominating and I don't like you, but I'm dominating, I'm going to boo you, or in the case of today, watching the Manchester Derby. Anyway, there's some booing going on in my living room. I'll tell you that for nothing, and not just at the City players. But, you know, the booing's just part of it. So but sometimes it's deflection. Sometimes it's, and I'm going to try and word this in the nicest way possible, but also bear in mind at the point of this channel is I give you my honest opinion and not try and satisfy a select few people. It's easier to boo a teammate doing well or to boo somebody who was involved in an accident than it is to accept that your driver has either been a little bit shit lately or has just had an accident by themselves or caused an accident. It's easier to boo Leclerc today than for them to go, oh, Checo really shouldn't have turned in like that. I should have given more space, or, oh, racing incident. It's easier to boo Charles Leclerc. That's how I see it. It's not every boo, you know, but it's an interesting conversation because some people really get quite annoyed at it, but I just it's one of those I hear it and I roll my eyes kind of thing, like whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, that's to me, it's easier to boo easier for think 2021 Lewis Hamilton fans to boo Max Verstappen, or Max Verstappen fans to boo Lewis Hamilton, than say, actually, my driver didn't do as well as you today. That's kind of just what it is. And turn one today, Leclerc was involved, but he can't evaporate. Checo could have left more space, but it's racing. That's why it's a racing incident. Nobody's at fault. But the fans are going to boo Leclerc because he's the one that made the contact. It's silly. It's just a bit silly. Like I said, it's just a bit panto. Just a bit panto. Like TV shows where they have live audiences and they boo. You know, if you've ever watched anything like The Terrible X Factor or something like that, somebody gets through and they don't like it, they boo them. It doesn't necessarily mean they hate that person or it's all dramatic. It's just they don't like that they've got through and others haven't, or whatever. X Factor's a crap example, but I hope you take my point. X Factor also was crap. Crap example and crap. Maybe make turn 12 more of a sweeper, says Andre. I didn't see if Raul had more info for me. I don't know. Sean, is F1 on TV available in the UK? I tell you, we in India are enjoying the coverage. You can never get enough of Alex Jakes' commentary. I love Alex Jakes. Do you know what I like about Alex Jakes? I sound like such a conspiracy theorist. This is why it gives me a bit of a giggle when people think I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan or a British driver fan or whatever, because it's so not true. It's so far from the truth. And this kind of comment proves it. But Alex Jakes will commentate on the racing, and he sounds like a fan, a passionate fan that's really enjoying the race he's watching. He commentates on the race. His co-commentators comment on the race. Crofty and that don't. They like to talk about random shit, which is a bit rich coming from me, in races, and there always seems to be an amount of bias. Whereas Alex Jakes doesn't read that way to me, or doesn't sound that way to me. So I like Alex Jakes, and I wish we had F1 TV Pro over here. We've got the one where you have access to like the archive and things like that, and you get the live timing. It's I forgot what it's called now. Someone will tell me in a minute. But yeah, the Pro version with the live races we haven't. We've got Sky if we want to watch it live, or Channel 4 highlights. But of course the what's the word I'm looking for? The VPN situation, because VPNs are something people have used to watch F1 TV in the UK. Apparently that's been clamped down on, so that's tough now. So Daniel in there with VPN, there you go. But no, but no, it's getting clamped down on F1. FOM are stamping that out. So there you go. Okay, no worries, Raul. It was a different topic. I was thinking, are they actually removing the chicane? Oh my god, Raul's got an exclusive. It's a scoop. So yeah, so doesn't Sky have a premium version? No, Scott. Well, no, it has a premium version in the fact it costs a fucking fortune. But it's the coverage that I would pay for if would be exactly the same as anybody else. I don't think they have a premium. They could do with this. I'd like it if they had a streaming service where you could like pay for no ads or something, but we don't get them in the F1, so it's not so bad. But some of the stuff you watch is a bit ad full. And I don't like ads in qualifying, by the way, on Sky. I don't like ads on Sky at all, actually. While we're on this, here's my moan for the day. Are you ready? You already pay a premium for Sky. Shouldn't be getting adverts as well. I'd be pissed off if I was paying whatever it is I pay a month for Disney Plus or whatever, and I was still getting adverts as well. It's a shame Sky can't. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe Sky do a premium, right? Sky. Here's Sean with his business head on. Sky could do this is X amount a month, which is what I've got now. You're going to get adverts in qualifying, you're going to get adverts in practice. However, if you pay us this much more a month, you won't get adverts. Maybe they could do that, but you're already paying for a subscription. It seems a bit. It's why I don't like this whole scaling thing with Netflix and that now, where they're doing these ad packages, which I know is to make it cheaper for people, and I kind of applaud that. But at the same time, you're already paying for something. I don't see why you should have to pay for ads. But then again, we pay a TV license, and although channels like ITV don't get any money from that, I don't know how we're here, but we're here. They still have adverts, so I suppose there you go. Anyway, I'd love to sit here as well, by the way. I'd love to sit and say that the money I pay for Sky makes me go, whoa, watching the coverage, and I go, yes, this is worth it, because it doesn't feel it. I don't really watch the build-up anymore, because it's all the same shit, and this isn't because she's a woman, but I don't like Danica Patrick. She does my head in. I love Bernie Collins. More Bernie Collins, please. Lots of Bernie Collins with an actual insight, rather than where they went for a curry the night before. Let's have Bernie Collins talking about tyres and how things work in the team. But Danica Patrick is a walking book of cliches. It's somehow how it feels. 3 into 1 doesn't go, like Martin. She's got Martin Brundle's book of cliches. That's all it is. I'm not a fan, to be honest, and it's not because she's a woman. Before anyone starts, I think Bernie Collins is fucking brilliant. But yeah, she's very irritating. I think that's it, James. She asks the strangest questions. But anyway, I do like Naomi Schiff as well. Dex, thank you for reminding me of Naomi there. But yeah, no, I'm not having a go at. People can like that. I'm sure she's lovely, but just as coverage, I can't watch it. It's just a bit much for me sometimes. I get a crack out of Rosberg commentary, says Martin. Fair enough. Crofty has his merits. Alex is better then again. When RTL still had broadcasting rights, our lead commentator was a man called Water, so Vassar. So what do I know, says DJ Red Raven. Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh, dear. I'm not listening to Danica's podcast. I mean, personally, when I say Danica's, I'm sure she's lovely, Dex. Personally, I'm sure if I knew her on a personal level, she was a friend or a friend of a friend or whatever, then I'm sure we'd get along fine. But, yeah. Let's close this poll then. Rate the Mexico City Grand Prix is what I went with there. Good 50%, average okay 31%, great 14%, bad 3%. I don't... Look, this is you know what's coming. I don't agree with bad because I don't... Very rare do I think a race is bad because I think there's always something to watch. But I think good to okay to good. It's in there somewhere. I like that one. Yeah, I agree with that poll. And I was going to do another poll, wasn't I? Have we got time? What time is it? We can do a super quick poll. Will Perez race for Red Bull Racing in 2024? It's probably a crap way of wording that. So, yes, no, half, don't know. That'll do. It's, what I'm trying to ask you in a really bad way. Don't know, Sean. Learn to spell. I need to word that better. Will Perez race? Yes, he probably will. But will Perez... Right, you know what I mean. Right, so will he be in... Do you think, after this season, Sergio Perez will be in the Red Bull for Bahrain next year? Do you think he'll do yes, no, half a season, or don't know? Let me know what you think. That's what I'm trying to ask you. It's a really badly worded question, but I've got like 5, maybe 10 minutes before I need to end the stream. So, so I love watching a poll be voted on in live time. It's quite funny. To reiterate for anybody just coming in to the stream, sorry that we're ending, but yeah, I think he will be. But I think the question really, and probably should have been this should have been the question really, shouldn't it really? Will he see the full season in that Red Bull? That's the bit I think is the bigger question. So we'll save that for next week. I think he will be in the car for Bahrain, but I'd be if he's performing like this in a potentially tighter field, he will not be in that car at the halfway stage. He may go the way of a De Vries. Could be in an AlphaTauri. That's why I've specified Red Bull Racing. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to vote on that, and then we'll end it just out of interest. So, and the P2 thing as well in the championship. Christian Horner said that's not a prerequisite to stay on next year. I never believed that was anyway. But I kind of want Red Bull to do that though. They've not done it before, and it's been one of those seasons where they've been so dominant with Max Verstappen that you sort of think you might as well have 1-2 in the championship and do the lot. So if Hamilton takes second in the championship, Nick says no. Rachel says who knows, depends how he performs, and Daniel or whoever. I think as well, Rachel, the other thing as well is, I think I said it earlier, that I don't think there's a rush to put Ricciardo in that car. Ricciardo's under contract, Tsunoda's under contract, Perez is under contract. They can give him the start of next year, maybe even the first half of the season, and then think about it. Because Ricciardo, and this is why I'm trying not to do this, because I don't want to sound like I'm going to go at him because he's had such a good weekend, but he's been brilliant in Mexico. He's picked up some massive points for the team, 6 points today. Great drive, great defending, fantastic all round from Danny Rick. But it is, one swallow doesn't make a summer. We need to see that, not necessarily 7th place and 4th on the grid, 7th in the race, 4th on the grid. We need to see that more consistently, better performances, and see how he goes against Tsunoda. And we're not going to get that, I don't believe, in a 3 or 4, 5 race sample size. It's a little bit different to Albon and Gasly, for example, because Ricciardo is so much more experienced, but I still think we need to see him in a good sample size of races. And that's why I think first half of next year is the perfect time for that. But it could even be less than that, as a few have said in chat. If Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari are closer next year and they start taking even more points off and it starts to risk the Constructors' title, they might have to make a decision. So it's a fascinating one. But there you go. That's where I'm standing on that one. I'll give that a couple of minutes because it might get to 100 votes then. So and then we will round it off in about 5 minutes' time. So doesn't the answer literally just depend on how well sedated Marco is? Says Rev Raven. Oh, you always make me laugh. Yes, probably actually, to be fair. Our helmet, can you go on holiday for the winter? No reason. We've booked you a lovely 6-month stay in the Maldives. Off you go. Quick, Checo. Sort yourself out. We'll rig the standing. We'll give you Verstappen's car, whatever. We'll all turn to you. What would off-season, silly season be like if Sergio retires? Alonso got fed up and Stroll tells Daddy he doesn't want his sandbox anymore. Would have to be a streaming madman, says Scott. Off-season, silly season. Off-season, that sounds so weird. Would be brilliant. And to be fair, in total contrast to the rest of silly season, which this year has been crap. Sargent will be in that Williams next year. I'm absolutely adamant about it now. And we'll see what happens from there. Oh, that was what I sorted. That's what I was going to talk to you about. Very quickly, I've got to go in a few minutes. Other half is going to start getting mad. So I need to do this quickly. I saw some and it is speculation. Put the usual caveats around that. Speculation. I forgot his name. Kimi Antonelli is a driver that apparently, I think it was Racing 365. I might be wrong. No, it might have been, but it was somebody. I should have got that as a source. I'm sorry. I'll try and find it for next week and we'll talk about it. But Kimi Antonelli is a driver that James Vowles could be quite keen on, apparently. A lot of coulds, I know. It's speculation. And so with the ties to Mercedes, there is some talk that depending on how he gets on next season, they could look to do, like with Verstappen, like with some of these other drivers that came up really quickly through the ranks, they might try to get him in F1 Mercedes for 25, which could be Logan Sargent's saving grace this year. Yeah, he's skipping F3, he's going straight to F2. So if James Vowles is a fan of his, and they're looking at him and they're already talking with Mercedes potentially, we don't know if this is true or not, about a seat for 2025, then keep Sargent and then maybe bring Antonelli in 25, or you could keep Sargent again if you wanted to, and maybe bring Antonelli in for 2026. You've also got to remember, as I've said many times, next season there are a lot of drivers out of contract, so there's a really fascinating story developing potentially down at Williams, and he is a Mercedes driver, but Mercedes will be very happy to loan him, like they did George Russell. Three races, 3 seasons for George Russell at Williams, that was good stuff for him. So if they do the same with Antonelli and loan him in and get him ready for Mercedes, because 3 years' time, I think three years at Williams for Antonelli, potentially, maybe 2 years if he comes in 26 instead of 25. Lewis Hamilton's not really sticking around forever. They're going to be thinking now, aren't they? Mercedes must be. I hate to say this, he's a 7-time world champion, 103 race wins, phenomenal driver, still brilliant. We've seen it today, but Mercedes must be planning for life without Lewis Hamilton. And if they are, Russell, potentially, and Antonelli, they're going to want to get Antonelli in as quickly as possible and get some seasons under his belt. So that was kind of what the speculation, the gossip was. Again, I reiterate, there is no facts behind that. That is all just paddock talk and all speculation. But that's an interesting one. So let me know your thoughts on that actually in the comments afterwards. And we might come back to it next weekend in the post-sprint waffle if we do one, because I'll have a bit more time to talk about it then. So I think just something worth bearing in mind, that it's not necessarily all about the drivers on the grid that are out of contract. There's some good F2 talent, and we've got the Mercedes and Williams link there as well, which we've seen before. So it could be interesting. But I am going to have to leave it there. So we'll end this poll. 122 votes, thank you very much. Will Perez be Red Bull Racing in 2024? Crap question. The answer will probably not reflect that. 36% say he will do half. 30% say yes, he will be. 24% say no, he won't be. And 8% say don't know. Of course, the correct answer there is don't know, because we don't. But yeah, that's not a very well worded question. But forgive me, it is midnight here in the UK. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Do we get a plank check? I'll check for you. Let me have a look. Just check there's no more coming from the FIA. Race scrutineering. Oh, I'm not going to sit here and read this whole thing. Did we get a plank check? Let me do a search. Do they call it plank in the regs? They do, don't they? Plank. No way. Well, actually, no, I suppose not necessarily. It depends on what the date is, because apparently we're not going to get into that today. We'll do that next week as well if you want to. But I'm not. Look, there are loads of pages there. They checked car 55 for intercooler assembly, intercooler oil pump, 63 for front brake drum deflectors, all good. as well as some other things as well. Front floor deflection, fuel mass. All the cars are weighed. Yeah, nothing that I can see on there, but that is only at a glance. So, but yes, we will leave it there though for tonight, I'm afraid. We did over 90 minutes. That's not bad at all, is it? That's a lot of waffle there. But I do need to go. Like I say, my other half has got work in the morning, and I've got to go. I mean, I've got a busy day tomorrow. I've got some City Skylines 2 to play. Anyway, Monday after race weekends, I do nothing. I literally nothing. So I do need to go. Other half's got to be up proper early for work. So and I'm already late finishing. So there you go. James Rich says, night Smeghead, see you all in Brazil. Night Smeghead. I love Smeghead. Love a bit of Red Dwarf. That is it for this one then. I will be back on Thursday with the preview for my favourite race of the year, Brazil. So I'm very excited for that one. And of course, I'll be live definitely on Sunday with the race reaction for Brazil, and hopefully on Saturday with a post-sprint waffle, so we can just talk nonsense for an hour and a half, as opposed to today when we've talked nonsense for an hour and a half. You know, I like to mix things up every now and again. You can follow me on social media for what it's worth. Don't forget to follow XPB as well. They provide all the images for the streams and the videos, so thank you very much to those guys as well. You can support the channel through Patreon if you'd like to. Links in the description. You can also drop a donation, because I'm not a charity, but drop a contribution on PayPal. Links down there as well. If not, just get back here next week. Lots of likes, lots of interaction. We'll have a good waffle again. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word. And until next time, goodbye.